All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight is race number 3 of the Area 51 Dark Horse Series, and we are here tonight at a bit of a new one for us tonight, and that's going to be Atlanta Motor Speedway. Used them with the stock cars, and not so used to them here with the open wheelers. And based on practice, based on talking to the drivers, it might be a bit of a survival and also just a terrifying race. I have a feeling for the drivers, probably for us as well. So this will be race number 3. Got to go over the points though. After race number 2, it is Charles Teed in the lead by 8 points over Craig Forsyth. Then Matt Wagner third, Yari Brupacher, Nick DeGroot are top 5. And then we'll pull up that schedule as well to kind of show where we are in the break. And right now we are again race number 3 at Atlanta. And then 2 weeks off because I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a lot of a very special events coming up in the real series. As I know, my partner in crime here, he's going to be going, and then of course everybody's got to kind of get back afterwards. And I feel like it's not just a quick show up and go to the race and come home. It's a bit of a whole, it's a whole experience. And so Andrew, really excited for you to be able to check that out, and looking forward to hearing how much fun you have there this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, it's Indy 500 weekend, Memorial Day weekend. It's traditional for the Indy cars. It's a whole day of racing actually, Gael. You got Monaco in the morning for the F1 fans, then you got the Indy 500 midday for the IndyCar fans, and then closing it out as a Coke 600 for NASCAR. So pretty much every discipline you could think of, all in one day, and it's been that way for God, I don't even know how long, but you can watch any sort of racing you want. So yeah, I'm attending the Indy 500 this weekend, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be a blast. I haven't been able to go, but that's definitely a bucket list one. I think for sure for a lot of honestly any race fan I think would be worthwhile there. So now we go to tonight. These cars, this is a super speedway at basically all said and done. Now with these guys going to probably 220 plus, I haven't even had a chance to look at their speeds. But had to make some adjustments, had to make the weather overcast because it was just, these cars were just roasting the tires. Even I think still now are getting them really hot, and that's making it very scary for these drivers to run. 125 laps is going to be our race distance. Fuel mileage I was hearing right around the I should say low 40s or so. So should not be any fuel strategy to be able to pull off a 2-stopper. I don't believe. Well, actually, 100. We'll find out. Possibly a 2-stopper, most likely a 3-stopper. Because I think tires will be the name of the game here tonight, though, for the field, Andrew. Because it sounds like it's terrifying. Is the best way I can describe it from the drivers.
Yeah, the Atlanta Speedway was reprofiled to make it more super speedway style, more for the NASCAR side of things. So, and the NASCAR races that have raced here since the reprofiling have actually put on some very exciting races, not just scary as we put it for this series here, but put on some good racing and a lot of chess match for these guys that try to ordinarily kind of figure out what their car is doing. Now they're kind of more in a pack situation, so a smaller super speedway is not very much what they're used to. But I'm actually trying to figure out where these guys fit into how they're doing in the championship so far. So we have Charles Teed and Craig Forsyth with 1 win each right now. So they're sitting pretty much comfortable in the championship standings right now. So I imagine that the two of them are going to try to find some safety in this race to get more points than the other guys around them that are trying to go for that win. I'm talking about guys like Matt Wagner, Nick DeGroot, guys that are multiple winners in this series, and they want to find themselves in victory lane. And what are they going to risk in order to do it? Because you have a lot of the rest of the season to figure something out, but this is a good opportunity to try and get yourself up front and get a win.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And like you talked about in the points, right now it's kind of, again, we're early, but it's kind of a top 4 breakaway with Yari Brupacher being that 4th position, only 16 out of the lead. But then you go all the way to 33 points out of the lead when you get to Nick DeGroot there in that 5th position, like you'd mentioned. So, and then from there just grows to kind of 42, 44. So, yeah, so like I said, the top 4, pretty close proximity, but yeah, 5th position on back, a fair bit further back. So we'll see how that all plays out. Looks like warm up, I should say, just about to finish up here. And then we're going to go over our starting grid for tonight because, again, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to be the preferred approach here. Do you want to start up front, have the clean air? Do you want to maybe be rolling in the back and just playing it safe, saving fuel, and just maybe hoping that things will be safer? And so we got to find the field because I don't think they're on the front stretch. It looks like they are hiding off on the back stretch. I didn't even know that was an option for here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So one more thing to catch us off guard. However, up front, it will be the number 6 machine of Matt Wagner. Next to him is going to be Adriano Fraporti in that number 072. Then you got Rick Sanchez, Eric Schaus, Eric Peterson, our top 5. Jim Herrick back in the saddle here tonight in that 6th position. Dan Marrera, Yari Brupacker, Chris Stouffer, Gary Laverne, they're our top 10. And then 11th, 12th, you've got Seth Groover, Craig Forsyth. Continuing down, you've got then Charles Teed, Casey Putsky, Brandon Briggs, the last of those to put a qualifying time down than all these other drivers, maybe again trying to play it a little safer towards the back. Jeff Heisong, Raphael Eckert, Taylor Reeves, Elmer Joseph, Jim Brooks, Bill Colley, and William Swenson are the 23 drivers scheduled to take part in tonight's event. Right now, I see 20 of them on track, 2 not in the server at the moment, or maybe opting to start from the pits. We'll have to wait and see. Keep an eye out for Yari as well as William, but right now don't see them on track up. Yari actually just chimed in saying starting from the pits out of that number 49 machine. So again, talk about strategy starting towards the back. Yari said, you know what? I'm going to start all the way in the back. And so he's going to try to keep that car in one piece because, yeah, this one, like I said, I think fast repairs might come into play for who can be there at the end.
It might be a smart play to start from pit lane, but you can only get that mulligan one time where you're kind of racing by yourself waiting for that caution to happen. So these guys are really going to be either going to go completely wild on the start, or they're going to try and hang back and start the fuel save, which we've seen both situations before. So we're under green flag right now. And guys are underway.
Eric Schaus again. I mean, he's kind of Mr. Restart here. Looks like everybody's up and through the gears. So far, so good. Adriano Fraporti trying to hold that outside line. So far, though, it's actually the inside Rick Sanchez. He's going to push a little further up. I can tell you that Yari's working through 1 and 2 down into the backstretch now. But it looks like lap 1 may go to that number 5 machine, Rick Sanchez. I think he will lead lap number 1. And like I said, now everybody's got to try to figure out where they can be comfortable because, again, these cars are very aero sensitive. And it's already a lot of jockeying for position. Also just trying to find some sort of clean air. Got one down on the apron. I think it's the 6 of Matt Wagner. Maybe trying to roll out of it here and just play it a little bit safer right off the bat.
I'm wondering about Matt Wagner, actually. I don't know if that's it looks like he's getting back going again, but if you slow these cars down too much, you're going to completely lose the draft. So similar to the Jeff Heisong situation we had at Chicagoland last week where he found himself all the way in the back, not able to save any fuel at all. This is an interesting strategy from Matt Wagner because he can't save fuel and he has no one else to sit behind.
Oh, caution is out. And I think looks like Eric Peterson involved. Car looks to be in one piece. I mean, that's about the best you can hope for in situations like that. So we'll take a look. This is the first yellow of the evening. Let's jump back here. I'll take a look at Eric here. And actually, he's already down on the apron at this point. So let's back it up further. Looks like just gets...
The incident happens later.
Yeah, so it gets loose. So maybe out of 2 comes to the apron. And I'm going to say probably a little bit too fast on the banking. And yeah, as soon as he hits from the flat to the apron, I said, look at that left rear. That tells you how stiff these cars are, just lifting that left rear tire from just the banking difference. And yeah, just goes for a slide and no contact remaining. That's about the best you can hope for in a situation like that.
Yeah, my guess is that he tried to pull a Matt Wagner from the lap before where he wanted to try and avoid some sort of incident just racing in the pack, but he carried way too much speed down the back straightaway. So when you enter the track, you're going to be offset a little bit on how the car is balanced, and you're going to slide the car. So a little bit of a silly incident there compared to what we expected for a super speedway situation like this. But yeah, looks like all the cars are still running. So I'm sure Eric Peterson will come down and take some new tires, and we'll get rolling for another one.
Yeah, Matt Wagner on pit road. Jeff Heisong just rolling out now. Bill Colley is in. Eric Peterson, like you mentioned, he is in, as well as Yari Brupacker And so I think Yari, he talked about it. He chimed in the YouTube chat saying he's going to start from the pits, and he's also making sure he's going to start at the very end of the field here on this restart. So I think Yari's going for a survival approach on this one, which I think is a really good call as well. And I think, unfortunately, it looks like Rafael Eckert may have, it looks like he is retired as well in the 064. It looks like William Swenson also. So it looks like 20 drivers in the field here this evening. So it's going to change our running order. We shouldn't change our running order, obviously, but it leaves us 20 cars on track. And yeah, so now this is where things, again, now it's up to Adriano. He's going to be the restart control car, single file restart. And I mean, we got 20 cars lined up, and that's where you always get a little extra nervous. We'll see if we get the one to go this time around. But yeah, I think this is definitely going to be one of those kind of just almost like the plate races for NASCAR. It's going to be one of those wild cards where you really don't know how this race is going to end up for you. And yeah, lights are off, pace car, we're one to go. Got a couple topping off here too.
Yeah, a couple cars coming in just to top off. Hopefully they made it in right before the pit lane entry closed. But yeah, one of the things that we were talking about before with Yari, he started on pit lane, but now he has no buffer really. Now he has to actually sit behind everybody, which could be more chaotic than starting from the pit lane, because if something happens from, let's say, 17th, 18th place, you have no way to avoid it. So it's always a little bit better to start in the field and try and measure how your car races in dirty air, because the more you put yourself at a disadvantage just racing by yourself, now you kind of put yourself in a spot where you have so much dirty air that you really don't know how to handle it.
That's a really good point. Yeah, we're, like you said, you're cruising and you're just doing your own thing, staying out of trouble. But yeah, at some point in the race, you're probably gonna have to start fighting with somebody. And you're right. So the guys that are kind of in the front mid pack, kind of battling, okay, they know, all right, I need to make these adjustments to make the car drive better in dirty air. I can do this in clean air. And then, yeah, just finding out, hey, this works for me in these situations. So that's a really, really good point. So we'll have to kind of keep an eye and see as that happens, if that comes into play or not. So up front, though, and also some big climbers early on. We have a couple drivers up 7 spots from their starting positions. First of those is Christopher. So I'll have to keep an eye on him here as he's going to try to get the point, I have a feeling, after this restart. As we are back to green, watching down the back, so far looking like we're going to be okay. Looking down the running order, and yeah, looks like we're going to have a clean restart here.
It seemed like everybody on that restart was a little bit slow to get going, so I'm not sure if that was a gentleman's agreement, waiting for the leader to go sort of thing. But yeah, we had Eric Peterson make an outside pass there all the way at the back. But one thing I wanted to mention from the right before the caution there is on that on that third or fourth lap there, it seemed that Dan Marrera back in 10th place was really struggling with dirty air. He just has 2 lanes full of all sorts of turbulent air happening, and it's very difficult to try and find the weight jacker settings, the roll bar settings, in order to make your car actually get through the corner in such a way where you can actually make your way forward. So I think it's more of a case of the top 5 or 6 guys able to move forward if they choose, or just kind of hang back and see what happens up ahead of them, and take advantage from there, save some fuel, maybe push a couple spots up ahead if they feel that the spot is open.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, and yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see. Like I said, I'm almost thinking I'm kind of going to go back on what I said on the fuel mileage. If they can keep the tires in check, this actually may be more of a 2-stop race than a 3-stop race. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. But right now, Adriano, he's definitely trying to hold this bottom line here, trying to protect, and things are getting really busy right here with Gary Laverne, Eric Schaus, Craig Forsyth, Charles Teed. I kind of expected Charles to really just play it safe early on, but like I said, I think he wants to make sure he knows what that car needs as the race goes on. Then you get to about Seth Groover in 10th, and then things are a little bit spaced out there with Casey Pahutsky, kind of, in my opinion, a nice little calm pocket. And then right behind him, you've got a few more cars. But again, they look like they're giving each other a couple car lengths here and there. Definitely not as tight packed as these top 3 or 4 rows.
It looks like it's a white line chase right now, which leads me to believe that especially Adriano up in the front is killing his right front tire.
Yes.
He's holding it down there, and eventually the outside line will work, but the guys have to be very patient. if you keep working that outside line and you have guys that are pushing you from the outside line, you'll eventually wear him down enough that you can make the pass in the right temperature condition. I think Jim Herrick touched the wall on the front straight. Doesn't seem like it's really hurt his car too much, but I think you're right with Casey Pohotsky back here in P11. I think he's sitting in a comfortable spot where, yeah, he could stay in the draft a little bit, but he's not really in any sort of danger of any situation happening. But the Hornets' nest behind him is also probably trying to move their way forward, the likes of Jim Brooks and Taylor Reeves and Brandon Briggs.
Yeah, we saw some close battling there. Just that previous lap, as you were talking about it there, Brandon, I think, was working with Elmer, or trying to work around, I believe it was Elmer Joseph. And as he almost got some sister paint schemes there with the 63 and the 36. So kind of fitting with the car numbers also just being inverted. But I'm going to go back to what you said about the tires. And yeah, I was talking to some of the drivers, and they had mentioned the right front tire was just almost melting hot. They felt like where that could actually play a really big role as the run goes on. Because right now we are on lap number 15, and I was hearing about 20-ish laps or so is really when those tire temps start to play a role and play a factor in things. So with the restart as well, I would say probably about lap 25 is I think when we might start to notice a big swing in the behavior of some of these drivers.
It's all going to depend on the temperature. If it's a hot track, then it'll wear faster. But if you're able to kind of maintain it, if you're able to stay down there for a longer period of time, then that's going to be the way to go. And it's going to be very difficult to get any sort of run to pass, especially if the outside doesn't work, as Seth Groover touches the wall there. Same as Jim Herrick on the previous lap. So these guys are kind of misjudging a little bit on the tri-oval there to see where they can get the outside run to get the most speed, but at the same time trying to keep the car off the wall.
Yeah, no, that tri-oval is very treacherous because it doesn't seem that just difficult, but yeah, like I said, when you're in the second lane, the angles are very abrupt, and so if you try to kind of get that outside lane, it's very easy to drift up and catch that wall, especially on, in my opinion, kind of about to enter 3. So definitely have seen that from time and time again, but man, up front though, these guys are working hard right now. Like I said, you've got Christopher right there, you've got Rick Sanchez, Eric Schaus, Dan Marrera. They are all on top of each other, and say Dan, we talked about Dan, it looked like he was struggling early. He's definitely found something since this restart because he's been able to hold his spot right up to his front pack pretty comfortably.
I don't think that the bottom line will hold out for much longer because you got these guys that are actively trying on the outside to make the run work. Right now, it looks like it's still dominant, but I could tell by the behavior of the cars behind that they want to try and get to the bottom as soon as possible, especially if they have better tires that can last the distance there.
Yeah, I think this kind of goes back as well last week at Chicagoland. I think this is also going to be one of those, basically try to run as far as you can before you make a pit stop, because with these cars, pit entry is going to be extremely treacherous. We already know how hard it is for these cars to kind of have that banking transition. I mean, we saw that with Eric Peterson where he was on the apron, he moved up a lane from apron to slightly banked apron, and that just immediately threw that car around. So I think pit stops are going to be, say if we can get to the green flag pit stops, I think that's going to be a big challenge. Oh man, that was close between the 13 and the 72 there.
So exactly, I was going to comment on that. So Adriano cannot hold turn 3, and I don't know if it's just some bubble push of air, as it were, pushing the air forward on Fraporti's car where he loses all the front of his car, but you can see that he starts on the apron there, and then he pushes up just a little bit, and that's going to continue to exacerbate as the right front tire starts to wear, because if there's no grip there, then there's no way that he's going to be able to make it to hug the white line all the way around the corner. So you can see in turn 1 and 2 here, there's enough banking where the car kind of hangs there, but I don't know if it's the amount of speed carried into turn 3 that's causing that, or if the right front is wearing away. Stover touches Rick Sanchez there. A little touch of the wall, that's going to upset the flow a tiny bit. Eric Schaus is going to have a mega run here. I still think that turn 1 and 2 is dominant to hold the white line, so Schaus is going to be stuck on the outside here if he chooses it, but I think we have to keep an eye on 3 and 4 and how easy it is for the car to hold the bottom there.
Yeah, and I think you see now actually also saw Adriano there. He's kind of drifted up a little bit to kind of work on maybe getting that arc, but you're right, though. He is really struggling to hold the bottom, and I think that's exactly what Christopher saw. He's going to try to go after it. I think it looks like Rick maybe okay. Maybe I say just that dirty air, unfortunately, has dropped him back a tiny bit now.
I think it's just momentum. Once you have the momentum on these kind of super speedway tracks, you have the speed to keep going. And if you lose the momentum at all, it takes like 3 or 4 laps to get back again. Especially if you have no draft of anyone that works with you. You can see he's back on it now. About 3 laps after the hit here, he's right on the inside and right back in the top 4 again. So that hit against the wall really didn't do much to his car.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was too bad of a shot, and it's like because usually you can kind of see how square you hit it; it'll play a big role. But you're right though. Right now, still seems to be a fair bit bottom dominant. We'll watch Adriano again drifts up about a half a groove there, and we'll see if Chris can get the momentum off the exit. And still not quite there. As say it seems
Back
like
on the front straight.
yep, caution's out, and
I believe that was Brandon Briggs there.
Yo, Casey Bahutsky as well involved. I think Matt Wagner. Yeah, Matt Wagner's in it as well. And yeah, definitely Brandon Briggs as well. So at least 3 cars involved in this one. Take a look up a little further. Looks like these guys are okay. So let's take a look here.
Yeah,
and yeah, I think it may have kicked off, like I said, around Brandon.
I actually was watching how Brandon was doing because I saw he was starting to kind of fall through the field a tiny bit. So I wonder if he had a little touch with the wall there. And unfortunately, it looks like someone got into him on the front straightaway.
Yeah, you're right there. Got really high through turn 2. The momentum was already starting to slow, and then we'll kind of kick things off a little further. You see Eric Peterson working on getting around him there as well. And yeah, that car, as you could see, just looks uncomfortable. Let's see if he's come through. So I may have. Oh yeah, just the trial was kind of everybody's trying to go for the same real estate there. Oh my god. Well, we'll go back. Watch that from Yari's point of view. I think he drove
Yari
under him.
Underneath.
Oh, also possibly Elmer Joseph. I'm not sure if he got in contact from that. Matt Wagner couldn't quite sneak by, and that's where Matt got a pretty solid shot there as well. So those will be 3 cars with fast repairs, unfortunately, having to be taken. But I'm going to go back like we talked about because I got to see this from Yari's point of view because I felt like he literally drove underneath that car. Let's hop on board here. And we'll do it at speed because that's the only way to do it. Man, maybe a little bit of right front kiss there. We'll have to double check that. And then I also want to double check for Elmer Joseph. We'll back his up a little bit because, yeah, this one a little more wild and saying it might be a little bit of the iRacing net code. Yeah, definitely drove through, but iRacing may have done him a solid on that one. So sometimes net code helps, sometimes it hurts. May have been a big help for that 66 of Elmer Joseph that time around.
I'm listening to some of the drivers' chat. Looks like there was a fast repair issue that some of the drivers are looking at. So I think we're trying to fix a couple of things right now during the yellow flag. Everything should be normal, but a little bit of chaos going on in the pack. I could say that when you were doing the replay there, that all the cars pit and Adriano came out right at the front. So Adriano regains the lead again. I don't think he lost it, actually. I think Stoker was trying to get by him, and it didn't quite happen. But Adriano remains the leader. No real drama on pit lane there. But, yeah, that wreck was especially interesting for those guys that were 2 or 3 cars back. And, unfortunately, it's how many cars can we get under the flying car before he finally lands?
Yeah.
And unfortunate for Matt Wagner there that he had to be the car that had the contact. But I believe that Yari probably had some right front damage there based on the speed he was going. For the car that spun into the wall. Who's the one that Brandon hit?
The 3 of Casey Putsky. And it's like Casey, I think, had to take a tow. And Matt's still on pit road. I think Yari also. Yeah, Yari's actually on pit road. So I'm not sure what happened to Yari. I thought that car looked okay, honestly. But we'll have to see if anything changes there. But right now we have for sure 17 on the lead lap. We'll keep an eye on the 6, the 49, and the 3. Then actually the 6, I believe. Well, I thought I saw him rolling out of pit road. It looks like actually that's not the case. So, so right now it's 17 cars.
There's some iRacing issue, it looks like. So they're trying to sort that out right now. I think it's just a matter of getting back into the pit road again. So we'll keep an eye on the 6. He'll be back.
Yeah, so we'll also keep an eye on Yari as well as Casey. Hopefully they can get things rolling. The problem is we're about to get back to green. It's going to hand it over once again to Adriano Forporti, who, again, I mean, he's able to hug that white line very, very well and hold on to that lead. We'll see. This is where drivers are the most susceptible for that change of position. And looks like through the gears, great restart for everybody. No dramas there. So we'll watch to see can Chris get that big push out of turn number 2. He's going to jump to the top, but I don't know if he's going to have the momentum.
I think Charles Steed had a little bit of a hesitation on the restart, but no harm, no foul. Everybody behind him kind of stayed a little bit off his rear wing, so there's no real issue there. But yeah, we're going to go right back to the pack racing again. These guys up front, I have full confidence that they know how to race with each other, so I think we can get a nice long green run in here as long as some of these guys in the back can sort themselves out.
Saw right there Casey Putsky leaving pit road. So I think he's going to unfortunately be at 4 laps down at this point already. So not what he was looking for there on his side. Haven't seen Yari yet either. So not the night Yari was hoping for. He'd mentioned that it was going to be a tough one tonight. And so we'll have to keep an eye. But right now we still have 17 on the lead lap. And yeah, so right now, say with that caution coming out though as well, talk about that 40-ish laps. We'll have to keep an eye on the fuel window because, again, I think this still puts it at, I would say, 3 more to the end no matter what.
I think you want to be on the bottom right now. As you see Stouffer getting kind of eaten alive. Dan gave him a break there in P5. But the white line chasing is going to continue here. It's going to be very tough for Porty to lose the lead. So let's watch him go into turn 3 here on the fresh tires. You can see it's very, very easy for him to keep a half car length to his inside. Hug the bottom line. That right front tire is still in pretty good shape, so he's gonna be in good shape to kind of hold this lead for quite a while longer. I don't know if the outside line can organize itself in such a way that enough air gets pushed forward, but I think that the inside line is where you want to be on these restarts. You don't want to give it up no matter if you fall to 4th, 5th, or 6th for guys that go on the outside. You're going to get it back on the fresh tires.
Yeah, it seems like right now the outside line works well if you're kind of mid-pack, I'd say maybe even 10th-ish on back. You maybe get to outside, work a few spots forward, and then if there's an opening, yeah, then you could drop down. But you're right, though. I think if you're top 3, 4 or so, inside line's probably where you want to be. Because you can see with Eric Schaus, he can basically bounce between being to the outside of Christopher or Rick Sanchez, but that's about as far as he's able to get, unfortunately. So, yeah, right now I think that's, like I said, it's definitely a very bottom-dominant track at the moment. So, like I said, we didn't quite get to the full fuel run side of things as well for the tire wear as well. And I think that's where Adriano's going to be at the biggest risk because I would suspect at this point probably going to be the one that's burning the most fuel and would be the first to have to hit pit road.
It looks like the outside line kind of gets a good run at turn 4. I think that the bottom line, like we mentioned, when the tires start to wear, turn 3 is kind of a big problem. And then when they get to turn 4, the outside line can just kind of hook it full speed from the outside. So you see Eric Schaus and Stouffer here. You'll see Schaus maybe start to pull ahead down the tri-oval, especially if he has the dirty air.
Yeah, you can see that, like you said, about a half a car length or more able to pull forward. But yeah, so it's right now you kind of have that draft lock, and I think that also makes it very challenging. Where, although what I'm watching right now is I'm watching this 5 car. Say, Rick's really good at Atlanta in the stock cars. I say I've plenty raced with him, plenty broadcasted with him racing plenty. And this is usually one of his tracks that he kind of has, I wouldn't say has circled, but it seems to just be one that suits him really well. And right now, I mean, I'm watching kind of that consistent, maybe half a car length or so, car length that he's staying off the back of the 072, whereas we saw with Christopher and Eric Schaus earlier, they would try to get to his outside, they'd use that big draft, try to tow up. I'm thinking for Rick here, maybe running a map 3, 4, 5, but basically whatever the most he can get away with and just saving fuel while not putting himself right on that rear wing of the 072 car.
I could definitely tell that the inside cars are starting to get a little bit loose. I don't know if there's a little too much weight jacker stuff going on to make sure you stay on the bottom line, but if you watch some of these cars in P5, 6, 7, 8 come onto the back straight, they are wiggling, they are moving, they are trying to fight all sorts of dirty air issues. Craig Forsyth kind of went below the bottom line and then up to the top going into turn 3. So that just shows you how much turbulent air is heading back towards these cars in the bottom part of the top 10, that it puts them in a situation where the car is probably a little bit unhappy and you have to adjust for it, especially if you move up a position or two or back a position or two.
Yeah, and I heard drivers talk about as well that the backstretch just, it was almost like these cars, if there was like any little imperfection in the asphalt, it was almost as if the cars were following that imperfection. So that's definitely been something that the drivers were commenting on during practice. And
ooh, a couple cars hitting the wall here. Yep, Seth Groover hit the wall front straightaway. Jim Herrick hit the wall in turn 4. Yeah, these cars are starting to get a little bit unhappy. I don't know if it's just a matter of the dirty air or if there's a situation where the cars are starting to get a little bit unhappy even in clean air. I wanted to mention Eric Schaus. We were watching him on the outside line before. He's managed to put Christopher behind. Now he's battling Rick Sanchez side by side.
No.
Oh, Rick Sanchez is touching the grass, and that's going to be an incident.
Oh my goodness! Saw the apron, and Gary Laverne just wrong place, wrong time, and I don't think Rick's gonna flip back over. We'll see if, I don't know if that car for Gary is gonna be able to drive or not, and yeah, we'll go back take a look. But at that point, I mean, Rick's just a passenger, and obviously you lock him up or whatever, you're going too fast to be able to recover. Huge hit for the 5. Let's go back though, because I said we saw the off track happen. And I don't think it was any forced mistake. I think it was just like we talked about, just probably caught the apron a little bit.
I think that was totally apron from what we'll see here in just a few seconds. So he unsettles the car left to right. And if there's
Right
any
there.
weight jacker on the apron, if there's any positive weight jacker on the apron, the right rear is loaded and it just completely makes him spin to the left. And you're a passenger now. There's absolutely no way that you can stop this car before it goes up onto the banking again.
Yeah, and you can see Gary saw it coming, went as high as he could, try to sneak by it, just wrong place, wrong time, and then it looks like luckily everybody else able to sneak underneath this one and get through. You see close call there for Bill Colley, able to just jump just underneath, and you see a lot of guys there taking the apron as well to kind of take no chances. So unfortunately, that is our second yellow of the evening. We'll jump back live, though, because pit stops are just happening as we speak. Oh, Gary's almost made it to pit road. Hopefully that car is able to get service. Oh, there he goes, actually. So good job for him to make it to pit road. Now we'll see if there's any strategy. Can anybody get around? Nope. Answer is that lead will stay to Adriano. Move Eric Schaus up to second. And Dan Murray, Christopher, Craig Forsyth are top 5. So we'll do is we'll take a quick break here. We'll pull up our wonderful sponsor with 40 Racewear, and we'll be right back with the one to go. Stay tuned.
40 Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 40 racing shoes are engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, all the while giving you the comfort needed to complete those double and triple stints. Visit 40racewear.com and check out the latest sim racing products that let you connect to your sim.
All right, lights are off of the pace car. We are one to go, number 49. So already over a third of the distance through this one. Say not too far until we hit the halfway point. And right now we've got, again, some comers and goers. Right now, a couple of our highest climbers. We've talked about Christopher plenty. Right now he is +5. Craig Forsyth +7. Charles Teed +7. Jim Brooks up 13 spots from 20th to 7th. And then a little further back, you've got Brandon Briggs up 5, Elmer Joseph up 8 spots in that number 66, and then Bill Colley as well up 8 positions in that number 31. So some good progress forward by them. Unfortunately, at the difficulties of others like Rick Sanchez, Yari Brubacher, Matt Wagner all have dropped a fair bit. Gary Laverne back on track is actually only 1 lap down here, Andrew. So hopefully, again, you never want to hope for cautions, but at the same time, he could definitely use one here to get back on that lead lap.
Looks like they fixed the fast repair issue that plagued a couple of drivers in the last stop, so that's pretty good. Gary Laverne only sits 1 lap down, so if I were him, I would just kind of hang at the back of the field and wait for the next caution.
Yeah, I say right now he's kind of mid-pack, which, yeah, not where I'd want to be. We'll see if he maybe tries to roll back or maybe just tries to find a safe little pocket. But right now, handing it back over to that 072, we're back down and either a little jump, maybe 72 trying to time it, but either way, they'll kind of stack them up just a tiny bit. Looks like everybody's going to be okay, though. And we'll see Eric, though. He's going to get a big head of steam here down the back.
Ooh, some of these cars in the back here. Ooh, a little close with Pahutski going to, yeah, just kind of accordioned its way back, and there were a couple of cars that were trying to pass on the outside. Didn't really work. A couple of cars in the apron, but I think we are clear out the back. So now we're going to start this 2x2 again. Eric Schaus is the master of the outside here, so I think he's going to plant himself right on the outside here for the next few laps.
Yeah, I think Chris heard what you said about that outside line because he pretty much went right to the bottom and stayed there. And he's going to hold right around second. Yeah, you saw that quick hands, though.
A little bit, yep.
Yeah, he caught it, and as soon as he felt his, like, got to roll out of it a tiny bit, and because you saw how quick Eric Schaus surged ahead of him, and that's exactly what that was from. So I'll say right now, back underway here, lap 51 already. And again, they pitted at 46. So again, if we go with that 40 or so lap window, that should get them to about lap 86. And yeah, I mean, that should put them right in the window at this point, probably 2 stops to the end. So basically, or lap 96, sorry, math is hard. Or no, yeah, sorry. I forgot how quick these laps are clicking off. But yeah, so.
It's a super speedway, so you feel like it's like a 28-second lap or so, and next thing you know, we're at 23. So these guys are really going fast around here. But we haven't put ourselves in a fuel window yet, as I think you were starting to allude to before I disrupted you. But
oh no, you're good.
I think we might find ourselves in that situation if we have a caution in about 15 or so laps. Not that I'm trying to summon that or manifest that at all. But these guys really are taking very good care. I think a lot of these guys were worried at the start of the race how this would go, especially with the 2x2 racing. But all it took was about 10 or 15 laps of green flag at the start of the race to really understand how the cars work on both the bottom and the top. So I think that it will work out, especially if these guys all give each other room. And let's see if we get a full green flag run here.
Yeah, it seems like there's been a fair bit of respect being given. Like you said, there's no big crazy moves. Everybody's kind of giving each other a little bit of space and haven't seen it. Again, we've still got a long ways to go, so I'm sure there's some strategy involved too. It's like, all right, let's make sure we've got the car at the end to make this stuff happen. So, but right now, like I said, we've pretty much got from 1st to 13th all right on top of each other. And then let's say I think some of these guys playing a little extra safe right now. Bill Colley, Taylor Reeves. Again, I like this strategy. I like to be a little further back there. Gary Laverne, he's still in the thick of it, but again, you never know where the safe place is going to be, and so he's just decided to stay, you know what, I'm going to roll right where I've been on this restart, because, yeah, dropping way back, it could maybe also put him in a bad spot. So, but right now, like I said, Adriano, the cautions have been great for him timing-wise, because he's got a really great pit stall, and he's been nailing his pit box, so he's enjoying what he's got right now.
I also have kind of a notion that it's never too early to kind of predict how you could win the race from second. So I'm watching how Eric Schaus is driving. He's trying to get that little sniff of draft right at the exit of turn 2 and have the run down the back straightaway and not necessarily take the lead, but he wants to see how far exactly he can get it himself next to him as we got a caution.
Yeah, and I'm looking to see. Talk about them rolling towards the back, unfortunately, and it looks like Bill Colley, Casey Pahutski both involved. And I felt like Bill is maybe in a safe spot, but unfortunately, we talked about you don't know where that safe place is going to be. So, like talked about as well, a great break here for, I believe it's going to be for Gary Laverne, get back on the lead lap. So let's go back here. We'll take a look.
Another silly incident, I'm afraid, so we'll watch it here.
Yeah, I'll focus on Bill here as they come down the back. Oh, yeah, you already see Casey in the apron. Let's back it up a little further, get a better view of this one. So you see Casey gets a big run out of turn number 2, and he brings it down to the inside. Bill kind of drifts off the wall a little bit. I think Casey reacts to it. And then right there, you saw that little bit of difference in the apron. And actually, yeah, they both kind of just, yeah, I'd say probably not what you're hoping for on that one. You see also there, Taylor Reeves going to sneak to the bottom and get by both. But yeah, definitely one that probably avoidable. But we actually, this caution, though, it's really shaking things up because look who's in the pits. That was our leader, I should say, Adriano Forporti. And then we had 8 drivers stay out here from Brandon Briggs up to now our leader, Eric Schaus. And this will be interesting to see for Adriano. What can he do now in this dirty air, and what's going to be the plan for these guys that stay out?
Yeah, my comment on the caution there, I almost, it seems like a silly incident, but I'll give Bill the benefit of the doubt there. Maybe he was looking at a black box setting or something at the wrong inopportune moment. We've all done it. We all felt like we had ourselves kind of sitting in a straight line and trying to adjust something for the next pit stop or something like that. So it looked a little silly on the broadcast, but it's very possible that there was just a quick little brain fade there. But as for this pit stop, I think we'll be good for just doing one more stop, because these guys can do 42 laps fully burning, and we're at lap, what are we at, like lap 59 now?
Yeah, about to be 60. Yeah.
So I think we'll be good for one full stop.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I do have to mention too, I know a couple drivers, like we mentioned earlier, some drivers were saying that even on the backstretch, there was times where it felt like the car was almost disconnected from the track, where it would just kind of wander on its own. So you almost wonder too if maybe Bill just was in the wrong spot where the car started to kind of do that little drift move on it. So unfortunate, but again, still plenty of time. I'll say hopefully can recover from it.
I see an incident that was on pit lane last lap between Taylor Reeves and Seth Groover. I think Seth was trying to, maybe he was about to miss his box or something, and Taylor just completely lost his front wing right behind him.
Yeah, so you can tell because both of them had a long stop there, 14 and 12 seconds. So probably, like I said, probably front wing repairs, maybe even a rear wing replacement as well. So we're back to 1 to green. We're going to restart on lap 61, just about to cross halfway point in 3 laps time. And now now we actually have some mixed strategy here. Like I said, we got the top 7 on lap 46. We've got 8th on back lap 58. We'll just see how this one plays out.
I think that this strategy will work out for the ones that stayed out if we're able to get a long green flag run in, and we can get ourselves to around lap 82, 83 or so. But
yeah, I
as
think
this race has gone on, it seems that there is a possibility for another yellow.
Yeah, no, at this point, yeah, it seems like it's kind of you're not sure if or when that yellow is going to come. Lately, it's been the if, and so now the question though also is if we get to that green flag window, Eric Schaus and company, they're going to have to pit probably at least 8 laps sooner, or actually maybe 12 laps sooner, I should say, than Adriano and company. So we'll see. We're back to green. So Eric Schaus leads the way.
Looks like Eric Peterson had a pretty rough start there. It kind of shakes up a little bit.
Seth Gruber had a moment too. He's actually got some damage. Let's go back. We'll take a look at him as they build up speed. Oh, it just snapped on him. We will jump back live as he's had to take a tow, unfortunately. We'll jump back to live action. But with all that just happened too, it's really split up the field right now, because now Jim Brooks is up to 6th, and then they got to go almost this 1.3 seconds back to Adriano, another 7/10 back to Jim Herrick. So these guys are, again, they're still in the draft window, but I feel like it just ramps up that little bit of pressure. Like, hey, we got to get back to these guys and put a little bit more aggression, I should say, to try to get back to that main pack.
I think Adriano might be a little too far back to get the draft. It's very close, but he also has full fuel on board compared to these guys out front that have less fuel. So I think it's fully possible that if these guys kind of get into a line and act accordingly and not give Adriano any sort of chance to catch up, I think they actually may pull away a little bit. Actually, Adriano seems to have caught it, but it looks like Jim Herrick may have lost it.
Yeah, so it looks like, Adriano's been able to tag on, but it looks like Jim Herrick on back. These guys have actually fallen out of that draft because it's 1.8 seconds and growing. So right now, not what they were hoping for. So we got one stuck up in the wall. That's Brendan Briggs looks like he's going to hang on to it, though, so we stay under green. But yeah, it's still going. Now it's 2 seconds and growing for Jim Herrick on back. So these guys might have to try to get a little bit more organized to see if they can close back down. I don't know if you can do the swap draft at a track like this, but what this has done, though, is, again, split the field in two, but it's also now put Adriano in the main pack as the only driver pitting at lap 58. So he can even go even more aggressive on the fuel save now that he's caught the pack and just put himself in even better position than some of these guys that haven't pitted yet.
I think it's very lucky that I think Adriano was on the cusp of losing the draft there, and he managed to have a good either 1 and 2 or 3 and 4 where he caught the draft enough where it was able to suck him back up to the guys ahead and away from Jim Herrick behind. Because these guys back here from, Jim Herrick, P8, well, actually now it's Eric Peterson that seems to have gotten around him. But
and the
these
gap's
guys have
actually
full
shrunk.
fuel.
Yeah, it's shrunk a little. Yeah, sorry, Andrew. As I'm watching the lap times, it was about a 10th and a half quicker for Peterson, a 64 to an 89. So that gap is starting to shrink. It's 1.62 seconds I'm showing between Eric and Adriano. And we usually talk about that 1.5 or so margin being the magic window, and I think he just crossed it because I saw his time grow quickly on him. So now we're all the way. Actually, we're going to go up front because Dan Morera, he is working for the lead here. But I can tell you, Peterson, he's caught the draft because he's now 1.1 seconds off of Adriano and continuing to close.
I think the part of it has to do with the fact that these guys up front are throwing a huge parachute, trying to go too wide, trying to kind of lift and trying to find their way around. Whereas Eric Peterson is sitting behind on the white line, driving at full optimum speed and able to sort of run a little bit faster than the guys that are running side by side. So it seemed like those guys might pull away, and on a bigger super speedway, I think that would be possible. But because of the angling, the narrow aspect of this, I think that actually allows the guys to run a little bit faster by themselves on the white line compared to 2x2 up front.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on there, and can tell you that. Also, got to mention though, Gary Laverne, actually, he's gotten by Adriano for Porty. So Gary, again, he just got the wave around. He's worked his way all the way back up to 7th in really quick time here. So he is wasting no time to try to get that track position lost right back. So really good job by that number 32 car, as now we've got the whole field once again here. We got the top 12 all within just a couple seconds. And then not too far out, you got Brandon Briggs, Taylor Reeves as well. Still safely in the draft window, so still 14 cars on that lead lap. Rick Sanchez is still 3 laps down, and then unfortunately for Yari, 7 laps down as we continue on here, as we got coming to 53 to go.
Yeah, I mean, you have to watch these guys coming out of turn 2 because as we see someone up on the wall in turn 3, I think it was that Gary. Yeah, I think Gary had a little bit of an issue there, but some of these guys coming out of turn 2, it is completely wild watching the backs of these cars go.
Yeah, Gary's missing the right front end plate of his wing here. Not sure what he caught, but that thing is not going to turn here. He's going to be very tight. It's, once again flirting with the wall. Not sure if maybe Gary had some contact with the back of a car, but that's you can see right there though on that right front though that wing end plate's just completely gone.
Actually, look, I'm watching it back right now. Yeah, a little contact with Jim Brooks on the middle of the part of the back straight. He couldn't really decide which side of the track he wanted to go, but I think Jim is okay. He's kind of hanging in there still, but yeah, Gary did have contact with the left rear of Jim Brooks.
Yeah, it looks like, and Gary's on pit road. He needs to get that rear wing fixed. Unfortunately, it's outside the fuel window still as well. But yeah, it looks like that 51 doing okay on the damage side of things. You'll say these front wings very, very sensitive though.
Yeah, especially once you lose the draft or you're in the draft, especially you can't turn the car at all if there's any sort of dirty air whatsoever. So sometimes you can get away with a little bit of front wing damage, but on a track like this where you need that side of the wing to work aerodynamically, it doesn't work if it's gone, of course.
Yeah, so unfortunate for him. I say, it looks like he's rolling on pit road now. I think though with the speed these cars are going with that apron, how slow it is, likely probably a 2 lap down at this point because he's still 1 down at the moment, but you're going to see them start to blow right by him.
He's out there, yeah.
However, he'll be able to tag onto the back of the draft here, and he's also still the highest car a lap or more down. So I think for him, just cruise, stay in the draft, and I say you'll need 2 yellows to get back up there, but there's always a possibility of it. So but right now, though, we're getting close to that final field window opening. But again, though, I think at a track like this, it's definitely going to be one of those you pit as absolutely late as possible. And for me, the pit entry, if we get to that point, that's going to be, I think, the most difficult part for these guys. Hopefully, they call it out, and then hopefully those that do have to pit early are able to have practiced it and are ready to know what to expect.
It's such a hard decision to make because you say to yourself, okay, if somebody wants to pit early, they're probably going to crash or something like that and the yellow comes out. But if you pit early and put yourself on fresh tires later on, catch the draft, then you have to sit there with bated breath and make sure nobody else around you does it. So someone's going to have the brain to stay out long. Someone's going to have the brain to say, I'm going to come in early and try and catch the back of the draft on the pit out there. So it just depends on who has whatever mind and whatever strategy they want to employ.
Yeah, I think if I'm one of the guys that pitted on this most recent yellow that has the 12-ish laps better fuel, I'm running this thing as far as I can, just saving every drop of fuel you can. But right now, though, man, Dan Marrera, he is really working that outside line well, and it almost seems like he's making a pretty big arc on entry, grabs the draft right here, then gets a big toe back down the back straightaway. And he's been able to nose ahead of Eric a few times right there entering 3 and a few times through the tri-oval. So, like you said, maybe trying to find the right time and place to make the moves. We'll watch here at the line, see how close it is. That time Eric is okay. Oh, Eric Peterson, though, he's on. Oh, he's sliding off a pit road here. And looks like he is stopped. Not sure if he'll have to take a tow or not. We'll go back. We'll try to take a quick look what happened to Eric here. Gets low, just got loose there, really close to Gary Laverne, and then just along for the ride at that point. So jump back live here. That car just now rolling out of pit road as we continue to watch the battle here for the lead here. 43 to go.
Actually, I think that was some netco with Gary Laverne. Now that I'm watching it, Gary on the fresh tires, and a little bit of a touch there, and unfortunate for Eric there that he had that happen. But yeah, we're sitting here trying to figure out what the strategy will be. No one's biting yet. I think the window is open as of this lap. So perhaps people will probably wait for closer to 85, 86 laps or so. Otherwise, we're going to see these guys stay out for at least another 10 to 15 laps.
Yeah, I think the leaders go as far as they can. I really don't see anybody wanting to risk the short pit just based on the timing of the yellows that we've seen so far today. We'll keep an eye, obviously, as the race goes on. But, yeah, I mean, if I'm in the shoes of any of these drivers, I'm thinking I'm just going to wait as long as I can, adjust the fuel to put the least amount of fuel to make it to that scheduled distance. But I think I save that pit stop for as late as I possibly can, just because, again, everything is just, I think, ramped up that more difficultly. So, and we saw for Gary Laverne, again, he pitted towards the back of the draft, but he did go 2 laps down, not just 1. So there's a very good possibility that you might get stuck 2 down. And again, that's a much, much different animal to try to recover from.
A couple of things I'm noticing here. So now we can see that the pack is starting to string out a little bit. That outside line is not prevalent anymore. You can see that everybody's more single file going down the straightaway here. Maybe a little side-by-side turn, but you can't hold that anymore. The inside line is still managing to hold off as best it can. And the other thing I'm watching is Adriano back here.
He's dropped back a bit.
He's dropped back. He's actually had a couple of bad corners where he can't seem to get any sort of progress forward. So I don't know if maybe he's sitting so far back in the draft that he's losing his front right tire, or if he's doing some sort of big fuel save.
Yeah, because, I mean, Jim Herrick was also one of those that pitted when Adriano did. And he's in the same situation here. He's fallen about 7/10 off of Adriano. High Song's about 7 seconds. Oh, Schaus is in.
Okay, so Eric is...
Can he get stopped? That looked very hot.
He absolutely sped there.
Yeah,
that's the end of the race for Schaus.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that's going to for sure be a stop and hold, I think, which is 40 seconds, which means, again, that's probably 2 laps. I mean, so now we'll see who was able to save. We saw how hard Dan Marrero was driving, so he's probably not too far behind as well while he was trying to get the point. But yeah, so I think obviously if there's anybody in team chat with Eric, he's probably telling him, hey, this is how you gotta come in way sooner. Brandon Briggs on pit road. Looks like he had a nice clean entry though. And we'll see right now again who the next taker is. But again, if I'm any of the other leaders, I wait. All right, here he goes. He's checking up. He comes in. We'll see if he can get it. Whoa, that thing is locking. That's closer than Eric's.
Close, but I think he may have pulled that one off.
I mean, that's if he got through clean there. That's. I mean, you got to maximize your entry, and now he's got to hope for the best. So look at Craig here. A little bit of, I don't know with that. I think that car was. We talked about these cars kind of being a little awkward on the backstretch. That car was weaving all over the place. I'm watching.
Let's keep in mind that these guys that have been sitting in traffic, now they have clean air. Now
got to adjust your settings.
Their car, yeah, how do they adjust the car so that they don't have a tail happy car?
I can't tell you, Dan clean stop 9.37 seconds. I think that was Brandon Briggs that had a moment. This is where you got to be careful because he's right on the edge of the banking.
I think he's got a little spooked by the speed of the cars coming behind him that he really didn't know where to go, but he kept it going. No issue there.
And actually, Dan Murray easily able to stay out after his pit stop, just about a lap and a half down. So that's a good thing to know.
Pretty safe pit entry there. I think he's easily going to get himself stopped in time.
Yeah, no, that looks nice and clean. Maybe not as hot, obviously, as Dan was able to do, but no pit penalty crucially for him. Eric Schaus is back on track. He is 3 laps down currently. We'll get back to 2 after everybody else cycles through, but we've still got 3 of our leaders who have yet to pit to come in. So, and that's these top 3, Craig, Chris, and Charles. Then you go back to Adriano Forporti, who now has 2 seconds over Jim Herrick. So right now, if Adriano, for those that went the longest, he's in the best shape for track position. But again, these guys all still will have to pit as well. Taylor Reeves also on pit road.
We have Stouffer stopping this lap as well. So, yeah, these guys practiced their pit entries over an hour ago. So it's very easy to try and Stouffer's.
Oh, that's way too hot. That was Eric Schaus' entry and then some.
Yeah, these guys practiced an hour ago, and they've been racing at full speed, and it's very difficult to figure out what the right spot to start braking is for. As you can see, it caught out Eric Schaus.
Oh, caution out.
And we have a yellow. This might actually help Stouffer's situation.
Oh, big wreck. Jim Herrick involved, as well as, I think it was the 3 of, oh, Casey's still flipping, actually. This has not been a good evening for Casey Hutsky, and he's going to finish this one up on his lid. And actually, we got some drivers that are, I think, just out of fuel because Charles Teed's having to come to the end. That car's coasting on the pit road. I think he had no choice there, and I think Craig might be in a similar situation here. So this is a tough one for those that got trapped a lap down. Dan Murray, Taylor Reeves, Jim Brooks. So let's first go back, see what happened here with Jim Herrick and company. All right, so we'll focus on Jim. I got to find him in our timing and scoring. And it's already happening, so let's go back a little further. Oh, there's a huge difference here between Casey. Oh, that's fast forward. It helps when I don't misclick also. All right, let's try this again. So you see Jim Herrick, and then oh man, I'm not sure what happened to Casey there, if he ran out of fuel or what, but unfortunately just was in a bad spot. Brandon Briggs, nothing he can do. He actually got a piece of that as well. And then, just to rub salt in the wound for Casey, he just starts a barrel rolling here down the back. Once that car grips, let's say these cars seem to be a little springy, and say it looks like everything's gonna be okay, but there's a little extra bounces that he got. So yes, that's a tough one. Craig is, I think, able to make it to pit road. Looks like he was able to service himself. Adriano's gonna come out in second. And we'll have to see for Charles Teed. I think, again, he pitted under a closed pit, so I think he's going to wind up having a tail end after everything cycles through. However, he's also going to have a ton of wave around cars now. So basically, I think Jeff Heisong the lucky dog? We'll have to wait and see.
I think it might have been Stouffer, actually.
Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. It's Dan Morera. So Dan was the wave around car there. Jim is going to be the first car tail end of the lead lap. And so basically Jim's going to do a full cycle around here. Taylor Reeves, Jim Herrick will all get back in the lead lap. Chris Stouffer as well. And like you said, actually for Chris, Chris was 2 down. This will put him back to 1 down. Gary Laverne as well will go from 2 to 1 down. Eric Schaus will go back to 2 down. So realistically, we're on the 1 to go now. Craig is going to be our leader after all this is said and done. And then we're going to have 9 cars now on the lead lap. And we're going to restart this thing with 26 to go.
Yeah, I think this kind of explains exactly the dilemma when you're going through pit cycle, because you could pit and you can be a lap down, or you can have some sort of issue, and next thing you know, someone's coming off pit lane. You saw Brandon Briggs trying to hang on to his car for the most part. If somebody has an issue and you're sitting there with no fuel left, like you're trying to pit that lap because you're out of fuel, such as Charles Teed, what do? It's such a hard decision of trying to figure out when to pit relative to everyone else.
Yeah, and actually this isn't too bad for Charles. I mean, he's going to be behind a couple cars that he was ahead of previously, like behind Elmer Joseph as well as Jeff Heisong. And he's going to have a couple lap cars in between him as well, like we just mentioned with the 13 there of Chris Stouffer. But actually, I'm sorry, Chris Stouffer's is going to stay trapped 1 down because he was actually behind Craig. So he's going to have some traffic around him. But again, having to come in on the early and get the penalty, really not a bad net overall for him to still come out in 5th here. So I don't think he's even too bad of a spot.
That's the best thing about penalties. You get the penalty and then there's a yellow, and then it's like, okay, I only lost 1 lap. So on the next caution, I'll get the wave around and I'll be right back in it again.
Here goes Craig Forsyth, grabs the gear, and he is down and away. 26 to go. Fuel is not a question mark anymore. Everybody's good to the end. Now it's who can manage their tires and hold that track position. Ooh, big bobble by Adriano there. He was building up speed. Big bobble by the 5 car, I apologize. As Adriano's actually right behind him. And these guys are fighting hard. And these are all cars that I believe might be going for the lucky dog, if I'm not mistaken. Because you see the 5, he's going to try to get a lap back the old-fashioned way. And I think we'll see if these other guys are going to try to follow suit. So Craig's kind of between a rock and a hard place here. He doesn't want to fight these guys too hard. But at the same time, he's got to make sure he doesn't get passed by the guys that he is battling for a position.
It's only Stouffer and Lovern that are going for the lucky dog right now. So Stouffer seems to be right up in that lead pack, and I believe Lovern is a little farther back. So
yeah,
as long as Stouffer keeps it clean, I think he will get it should there be another incident.
Up there goes Adriano's able to get around the 5 car. Now he's going to try to get back to the point here. Again, he had that 1 pit stop strategy, put him back track position. Now he's able to get it back. He has a big drift off there, maybe a little bit of net code contact between he and Craig. Now he's going to have to try to regroup and get back after it.
It's all kicking off here now. He only got under 30 laps to go, so these guys are going to really try and maximize whatever they have left in the car. I think the bottom line is still the way to go on the fresh tires. So if you're sitting there on the outside, you better hope that someone below you is touching the apron or doing something a little bit out of the ordinary, because the guys on the bottom are coming.
Yeah, Charles Teed's now up into 3rd. Dan Morera as well, moving his way up into 4th. As these guys are trying to drift a little bit too, making me nervous. Then you got Jeff Heisong, Elmer Joseph, and then Jim Brooks, Jim Herrick. They're all in this main pack right here. We're going to go up front because Adriano had a nose ahead for a split second down the back. And that's the other thing, is you never know if and when if a caution comes out, if you can have your nose ahead at that time, that puts you right back up to the front. So right now, Craig's just going to have to hold a nice, clean, steady line. And like you said, make sure you don't get too close to that apron, because that's going to greatly upset the car. And as we've seen, unfortunately, bite a few drivers tonight.
Well, the thing with Adriano is that he was hugging the white line for the whole first half of the race, and now he finds himself on the outside where Eric Schaus was. So now Adriano's got to kind of shift his whole entire strategy and see, what do I do here? How do I get Craig to kind of lift or wear his tires down more where I'll actually get the advantage? So he's had the ability to race both the bottom and the top. And he's trying to race the top, and he's doing a pretty good job at trying to maintain, but I still think Craig on the bottom has this one settled. But this outside line is really starting to form up here. You see the guys all kind of piling on the outside, whereas the inside line is a little bit disjointed right now.
Yeah, a little bit more space in between some of them. And once again, Adriano has the lead there, entering 3. And just now, Craig gets his nose back ahead. So, I mean, that's a good section where Adriano is ahead. And I was saying Craig's aware of this. He knows, like, hey, man, if I can't hold that lead, and you see right there, too, Craig had a pretty tight entry here. And so that's going to, again, scrub that speed through the turn, through the exit. So right now, I mean, Adriano's doing everything. Can you see squeeze a little bit on the entry, drifts back up to try to get that nice arc in. So, yeah, these guys are doing everything in their power right here.
I'm actually kind of surprised that not a lot of guys are going inside. They're all kind of piling on the outside lane, which is completely the opposite of what we saw in the earlier part of the race. So I'm wondering if the temperature has changed on track, where maybe the outside line may feel a little bit better, even though it's not faster.
It is getting a little warmer. 95 it looks like. I think earlier was in the 80s. So yeah, I think the track temp has heated up a bit.
It's heating up a little bit, but at the same time, it's not enough to get the advantage. But I still think that the bottom line is the way to go. As long as you could put the right tools in your car where you can hug that white line, I think it's the way to go. Oh, everyone kind of pushes high and two there, upsets the whole flow of things.
Oh, saw the 5 car catch the apron there, trying to go back and find him. Oh, no, it was not the 5 car. Oh, contact Eric Schaus. Caution will be back out. I saw somebody. We'll go back. We'll take another look there.
Sanchez?
Yeah, Sanchez and Schaus, unfortunately, both involved. Both able to grab a gear and go. I think suspension damage possibly. But before the yellow came out, I thought I had seen a moment there where I saw one car kind of drift down to the apron. I'll say a little bit too far back here. I thought it may have been the 5. We'll watch and see as we come through. I thought I saw a red car, but I may have been focusing on the wrong one. Oh, yeah, no, right there you see got really loose, caught the apron a bit, and then you see right here catches it again. But it looks like everything was okay there. But, yeah, it just keeps pulling him back into it. It's a very odd situation, and that's where it starts to snap around on him. And I think he had just about had it saved here. But I think, unfortunately, having to chase it, he chases it back up into the path of Eric Schaus. Nope. Actually, I think Jim Brooks gets him into the path of Eric Schaus. As you see, those two kind of got hooked together. And then, yeah, that pushes the 5 up. So, unfortunately, that is the cause of the caution. And so pit stops have started here. Not a lot of drivers hitting pit road. Looks like Jeff Heisong is one, along with Taylor Reeves. Lucky Dog, I believe, yep, Christopher's already hustling around here, so he's back on the lead lap in that number 13 car. So he's going to see what he can do on this next restart, try to get what he can. You see he's going to hustle onto pit road, get some fresh tires as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be, 15-ish lap fresher tires for Jeff Heisong, Taylor Reeves. I think the question mark is going to be is the tire temperature, or is the tire situation due to temperature, due to wear, or maybe a combo of both. So it's gonna be fun to watch the 18, the 34, and the 13, see if they can make something happen with them.
Yeah, I think that these cars coming off turn 2, it's so random. It's sometimes they just push all the way up the track, like we saw with that incident with Rick Sanchez. A lot of the cars were kind of routing nicely, and then suddenly on the next lap, they all just kind of push wide and they wind up in the wall. So I predict one more caution here before we go, which will put Gary Lovern on the lead lap again. But it's go time now. Everybody was playing nice for the first 100 laps or so, but I think we're going to start to see some things ramp up here and possibly some more moves. Now that these guys have played with the weight jacker and turn 1 and 2, especially trying to find the fastest way down to turn 3 where the cars kind of drift up the track a little bit. I think we're going to see a little bit more action in the next 2 laps here.
Yeah, I think Gary listened to you because he's like, you know what? That's a good point. If there is another caution, let me get to the very back of the lead lap here. So he went ahead and he's hit pit road. He's down and away. So he's going to be at the very back of the field, which I think is a very smart plan for him there. And then, yeah, so up front, we've got pretty much, I think, up to 7th right on top of each other. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, we've got everybody all together. Christopher, even, he's not too far off the group, too. He's just got Eric Schaus, I think, in between him and Jeff Heisong. So a lot of our lead lap cars here pretty much, I think, are all nose to tail. So this is a pretty good opportunity for Christopher, even being the end of longest line penalty. He's really not in a bad spot, so... And then I look at like a Charles Teed and Adriano Forporti, We talked about the 4D race where guys, once again, they're all here. Craig leading, Dan Marrera there in 4th, Jim Herrick in 5th. So again, a really solid run for this team.
Quick mention that first place, third place right now are our 2 winners this season. So in terms of maintaining the points positions, these guys are maximizing their best situation right now to the guys that have not won a race yet.
Yep, so now it's up to Craig here. He has control. We'll see when he decides to get going here on this restart with 12 to go at the line as he is down and away. Another looks like clean start for all these guys. I'll see Eric Schausler dropped out of the way, let the leaders swing on by, not wanting to play a role in this race. So pretty spread out in this restart. You can see multiple car lengths between all of these guys until you get to Jeff Heiss on Chris Dover. Chris is wasting no time. He's already got by a couple cars. Looks like he's going for one more, but right now having to try to find the clean air to do so.
Yeah, looks a little sketchy with Jeff Heisong there, but I think Stouffer's going to have the run down the front straight.
Yeah, and so right now, great restart there for Chris. And once again, here comes Adriano. He's going to try to make the charge to the outside. Charles T. Oh, a little bit of a wiggle there. Not sure if that was contact or not, but oh my goodness, I don't know how Craig hung onto that car.
Yeah, I'm watching a lot of the action back in the bottom part of the top 10. It's 2x2x2 back here. Stouffer, Heisong, and Charles Teed.
These guys are fighting hard up front.
Charles Teed.
Oh, we're 3 wide.
Taylor Reeves, yeah.
Look at Dan Murray. He's going to try to run that third lane. We haven't seen 3 wide at all tonight. Now he's going for it because we got 10 to go at the line here, 9 to go now. And you've got, it's pretty much a 2x2 here. Pace laps at 230 plus miles an hour. Christopher, he's right there in the mix as well. We've got the top 8 all on top of each other.
I don't wish bad things, but these guys are running way too close, and then it's the end of the race, so something's going to happen here. Forporti is really pinching Forsyth on the bottom line. I don't think that outside line has anything going for it at all.
Jim Brooks
whatsoever.
caught the wall there.
Jim Brooks, yep, just a little bit, but I think he might be okay. Stouffer gives him a little bit of space from right behind, but yeah, Forsyth, as long as he can hug that white line and not have any issues, it's going to be his race to lose.
Yeah, as I was saying, he had a big moto a few laps ago. You see Christopher now. He's going to try to squeeze the middle there. I think he got through. Move Christopher now up into 6th. Again, he's got some fresh tires, and he's going to try to use them. Look at the run he's getting through 1 and 2. Like you said, the run eventually is going to fizzle out just a little bit. And, oh, man, you're right there. Adriano and Craig. I mean, Adriano is trying to squeeze Craig, keep him as uncomfortable as he possibly can here. We got 6 to go.
Yeah, the big thing is watch these cars come out of turn 2. They're all over the place, and the way that they can hold these lanes properly is astounding to me, because they come out and then all of them are fishtailing and trying to find some sort of straight line to run, especially when they come off the banking there.
Yeah, now it's just, like I said, it's trying to figure out where can you position your car here, because we're at 5 to go, and again, there are no green white checkers here, but right now, I mean, it is tight between these two. Adriano's done the best job of getting to the side and even a little bit ahead of any of the guys running that side.
Yeah, Jim Herrick just touched the apron a little and spooked Jim Brooks on the outside, but he's right back into it again on the 3rd row back on the inside. I think Jim is really trying to maximize as best he can the speed he can, especially with all the dirty areas found. But yeah, the outside line's falling apart with Adriano getting very loose on the outside.
Yeah, right now it's like you said, it's kind of, if there's a mistake, it's just, who gets through it is almost what you're afraid of almost having to see how it goes. But like I said, right now, Craig, he had his big moment. He's been able to hang on to Jim flirting with the wall there out of turn 4 this time. Looks like once again getting away with it. But I mean, these guys are just using every inch of track and then some here in these final laps.
I'm trying to figure out if any of these guys in the 2nd row are trying to figure out any big move for the end of the race here. We have Dan Marrera that's really peaking just outside of Forporti a tiny bit. He hasn't quite gotten there yet, but it's 2x2. There's nowhere to go. So as long as it stays like this, I think it's going to be pretty set here for Forsyth and Forporti for the front, and then whoever on the inside or outside can get the run.
I think we'll see Dan. He's going to make, I think, a 3rd lane charge here at some point as he and Teed get super close.
So loose. Yes, that turn 2 looseness I've been talking about. He got very loose, but he held on to it. Coming up to the white flag.
Ooh, Craig really loose there out of 4. White flag is out. So this is it. At this point, it's who can get to the line first. And right now, like you said, it looks like it's going to be between Forsyth and Porties. They almost make contact. We'll see if that opens the door. No contact. A bunch of cars involved here. Jim Herrick's going to come through as unscathed a lot, as well as Adriano. Can Adriano get a big charge here through 3 and 4? No, Craig Forsyth going to hang. Oh, Adriano catches the wall there. I think Jim Herrick might grab second out of all that. Adriano going to bring home in third. Just went a little too low there, unfortunately. And oh my goodness, Taylor Reeves going to come home fourth. But let's first kick off with what happened there down the backstretch here. Oh man, that was unfortunate. We talked about it. We just, it was kind of, when was that shoe going to drop? And unfortunately, it looked like right around Charles Teed as well as Dan Marrero here.
Yeah, I think what started that was Porty got spooked, and T tried to find a hole that wasn't quite there. Not sure if it was a hole or just trying to maybe slow Dan down on the back straightaway, and then next thing you know, the outside line was completely done.
Yeah, and so really what happened was I think Dan really tried to squeeze Craig and say, we'll try to get a better angle. Here's a good shot of it. And so that drifted Adrian up really high. And then I almost wonder if maybe both of these guys were trying to get to the middle and maybe met, unfortunately, in the middle. You see Jim Herrick, he snuck by on the inside. It looked like for a moment Christopher had it avoided, but then his car goes, oh my goodness, you can see how high that car's flipping. We saw Jim Brooks get a piece of that as well, along with the 18. And then, yeah, just who could kind of sneak through there at the end. But then I got to go back to this fight for third here, or for second, I should say, because right here you see Adriano. He tries to get a big draft cut underneath there, catches the apron, and that throws the car right up into the outside wall here as he gets loose and tries to catch it. And so I think Jim Herrick actually, through all this, he kind of sneaks by here, actually cuts way down, I think, maybe in response to that. And you can see at the line, yeah, Jim's about a car length ahead of him. So I think Jim's going to wind up with a net second place over Adriano there in third, unfortunately, catching the wall like he did.
Yeah, I did not catch that. I was trying to replay the big incident on the back straightaway and trying to see who was caught up in it. And unfortunately, it was about 5 drivers there that were all going for nice best finishes of the season, and it didn't really work out so well.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't quite pan out for a few of them. Pretty wild one here tonight. We'll pull up our final results before we get to our top 3 interviews, as it will be, as we show here, Craig Forsyth over Jim Herrick and Adriano Porty. Then Taylor Reeves, Elmer Joseph grabbing top 5s. Christopher is able to grab a gear and get going. He still brings home 6th. Charles Teed in 7th. And then Jim Brooks able to make it home still at the end in 8th. And unfortunately, some drivers didn't make it to the finish line in the end, including Dan Murray, Jeff Highsong there. Gary Livern winds up in 11th. And then you see Eric Schau's 12th, Yari Brupacher, Rick Sanchez, Brandon Briggs, Eric Peterson, Seth Groover, and Casey Pahutsky in 18th. Continuing on the remainder of the field, early retirements as well for Bill Colley, Matt Wagner, unfortunately, some troubles, and an early retirement for Raphael Ecker, and William Swenson did not grid this evening. All right, so now we got to find some fellas here, and we're going to kick it off with, let's see if Adriano's made it in here or not. All right, I don't see him yet, so we'll go a little out of order. So we're going to go grab Mr. 4D Raceware. And then we will have a chat with him. Got to try to pull up that good-looking car. All right, we are ready. So we'll grab Mr. Jim Herrick, driver of the 4D Racer machine. Jim, it was probably one of the crazier ones for you guys. This car track combo looked to me very terrifying. But I mean, you were putting yourself in a good spot there towards the end of this thing. And then, but yeah, by the end, I mean, you were in a really good spot, had a chance to go for that top 3. We saw, and able to sneak under the chaos there out of turn 2 down the backstretch, and then kind of gained a little extra one there out of 4. I mean, take us through the race, the pit strategies, and just kind of what you had to do to keep that car pointing in the right direction.
Yeah, it was all about keeping it pointed in the right direction tonight. It was pretty sketchy, kind of hard to hold your line at times, and I don't know. As far as strategy goes, there were a lot of cautions, so the fuel saving really wasn't doing much. But I decided to go off strategy just to maybe make out with a fresher set of tires or something at the end, just to change it up from the rest of the team. And uh, I don't know. With the cautions, I don't even think that really did anything. Just ended up. I got lucky in that accident. I don't know what happened. There was just all of a sudden a car real slow in front of me, and I tried to turn down underneath them, and I couldn't get it to turn. And got lucky and got to use my fast repair there and stayed on the lead lap. So it's just about having a clean car at the end because that was the fast repair was right there. I think just one caution before the end, and uh, after that the car was fast. I was able to drive up through the lap cars and get back up with the leaders.
Yeah, Jim, I saw a couple times earlier in the race you had a little few taps with the wall at a turn 4 or on the front straightaway there. Did that seem to hurt your performance in the car, or was it just kind of light scrapes where it really didn't seem to affect the performance and you were able to kind of get right back into it again?
It did hurt it a little bit. It didn't want to turn quite as much, which actually may have been a little bit of a benefit here, but it also took the top speed out of it, and um, the draft is pretty powerful. So as long as you're able to stay close to the car in front, I was able to keep up. But I don't know if you noticed, there was a couple times when you got a little bit of a gap, and then I'd start to fall back, and it took a couple cars with no damage to get in front of me and lead us back up to the pack. So um, yeah, at the end, yeah, I was just waiting to use that fast repair at the end and have a clean car and ready to race for the last like 15 laps.
Did you feel more comfortable on the top side or the bottom, especially when the tires started to wear when you were racing at the end there? Did you say, okay, I definitely want to be on the bottom or I definitely want to be on the top to try and get the advantage for the cars that were on either side of me?
Normally I like the high line, but tonight the car just seemed to work better on the bottom. It was, I don't know, it just seemed faster. I couldn't get around anybody on the top, and even though it was kind of hard to get around on the bottom for most of the race with me too, with that little bit of damage, at the end the bottom was really hooked up, so I wasn't too worried about running down there and getting loose. So yeah, at the end that's where we went, and it it was fortunate for me because when I think it was Charles and Dan got together on the backstretch, I had the clean pavement in front of me and was able to sneak up there. I don't know what happened to Adriano. It looked like he tried to dart outside of Craig and then hit the wall and let me get by him at the very last second. But so I'm happy. I'll take a second place. I haven't been able to run a lot of the races yet this season. I've just been real busy and had a chance to come out tonight, and it was a surprise for sure because when I got in the car with like 15 minutes left to practice and felt how sketchy it was, I was a little worried. But good result for us, good result for the team with Craig winning, and we had everybody up there in the top like 5 or 6 right at the end. So that's where you want to be.
Now, they say it was a really good run, and I'll say, and I'll say part of obviously you being really busy lately. I say that's where we get to let you show off. I say we're showing the car. We got the logos on the broadcast a lot of times too. So, say tell us what you've been busy with before you get to go watch some cars do some circles and maybe even get to meet up with this Andrew fella.
Yeah, looking forward to the Indy 500. I'll be out there this weekend, and looking forward to possibly meeting up with Andrew and a couple of my teammates, and I don't know anybody else out here who happens to be in town. Let us know, and we might get together and check out. There's a sim racing cafe in town that has the motion rigs, and they're pretty cool. So I thought if we're not doing too much. It's also possibly going to rain, so it'll be something we could maybe run and do inside this weekend. But I don't
Don't
know.
say those words, please.
Yeah, no, the forecast for Indianapolis 500, it always shows rain on the forecast leading up to the week, and it always seems like on race day it's sunny and clear. So I'm hoping that this year maintains that trend.
Wow, I say it's been a lot of fun, and say definitely want to give you the floor for any other things and shout outs, and say yeah, definitely looking. I hope you have a great time though this upcoming weekend, man.
Yeah, thanks, and just give a shout out to 40 Racewear, our sponsor. That's something that's been keeping me very busy this year. Trying to get our new products out there and hopefully have them ready in a couple months. And just shout out to my teammates Dan and Chris and Craig, and uh, yeah, to you guys for doing the broadcast, and Matt and the admins. They do a great job. I love racing here, so thanks to everybody.
All right, man. Enjoy this one. Enjoy your weekend and have a safe trip up there, man. Looking forward to hearing stories when you get back.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, that is our race winner, Mr. Jim Herrick. Now let's jump over to this guy. We're going to go a little further back because he's already doing donuts before we even have a chance to talk to him. So let's go back a tiny bit because we got to chat with our. There we go. Got my button working again. Got to chat with our race winner here, Mr. Craig Forsyth. And Craig, you say you had a lot going on tonight. You're having some computer difficulties and hardware, and then able to get things going again, and gained 11 spots to get up to the front there. But I mean, it qualifying didn't look like it went as well as you were hoping, and then just it was a strategy race, I think, and honestly for me, I think that's a lot of times where you shine. I mean, and take us through what that strategy was for tonight to get you into that position to be able to try to win this race.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Yeah, hey, Andrew. No, this is one of those tracks where if you've got the lead, you're not going to get past. So staying out, and making sure that caution, if a caution happens during the pit cycle, you're still on track, is of vital importance. And I think Chris and I played that perfectly. And then it was just unfortunate that Chris and I both had the same amount of fuel, but we made the decision not to pit at the same time. So he went in one lap early at that point, and then of course that was when the caution came out. So it bit Chris, and I came away looking smelling like roses. So and then after that, it was just a matter of defend the bottom, stay on the bottom, and make sure that no one would be able to get a run. And it worked out. It worked out great. Those last two laps were pretty crazy. I watched them on review there, and I'm glad I wasn't. I'm glad I was in the lead. That's all I'll say.
So I'll correct you a little bit. Chris sped on pit lane, so I think the yellow was actually perfect for him.
Right, he did. I forgot.
Yep. The yellow actually helped him for the fact that the field slowed down and he didn't lose 2 laps instead of 3. So, or 2 or 2.5 or whatever it would have been. So yeah, it bit him, but it bit him and then it kind of helped him at the same time, because as he hit his box, that's when the yellow came out. So yeah, it was interesting to watch the guys pit, because you could definitely tell you guys were in such race mode that you forgot what you did an hour ago, trying to practice for pit stops. And there was quite a few speeding penalties, or almost speeding penalties in some aspects. So that was pretty interesting to see. But turning more towards the Craig Forsyth show here, you have a race win already. Now you have 2. In the pre-race, I was talking about how it's so early in the season to start thinking about points. But whenever you come into a race like this, where you have such a high risk of something happening outside your control, do you come into this race thinking that you want to kind of limit any sort of damage and get the best finish you can? Or do you kind of just hang in the mid pack like you did and focus on the point situation? And if you find yourself in a situation where you're in the last 15 laps up front, is that your best opportunity to maximize points on such a wild card of a race?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, starting in the middle of the pack was definitely not to plan. That's for sure. It's why I immediately, basically, if I'm in the middle of the pack, and I knew how dangerous this setup was tonight. Like, good on everyone who survived this race, because it was a hard car to drive tonight. And so I immediately wanted to get right up into the top 6, basically far enough ahead that far enough ahead that I was pretty safe from bad things happening, and then just sit behind to make sure that the danger, of course, is the two wides and three wides, with the front guys. So it's like sit on the bottom, and if they do touch, hope it goes straight up to the wall, and you miss it. I mean, we had the one, I think it was Richard that clipped the apron and turned down to the inside wall. And I called out to Dan and Chris that there was a car going to the inside wall, and then suddenly he shot straight up, and I think he missed us by a tenth of 1 or 2 tenths of a second, and ended up taking out, I think it was Gary. So we got really lucky there. And I mean, your race could be over just that quick here with how it was. So a lot of it is luck. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're third or fourth on track or 17th or 18th. If the cars around you get together and you become part of it, it makes the rest of the race a whole lot harder for you. So I mean, we got lucky that way. And I mean, I on these type of races, I'll always prefer to be nearer to the front than anywhere else, but not at the front until the last stint.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was going to say that I wanted to ask one more thing about how you said the setup was dangerous to drive. Like, did you find the exit of turn 2 was a big problem? Because it seemed like watching the pack, especially coming out of turn 2, there was a lot of tank slapping kind of cars there. So was the measure to put the weight jacker a little bit higher and kind of run the right rear into the ground coming on the exit of turn 2?
No, I was actually running it negative, but that was well on the bottom. Basically, the danger was anytime you weren't running the very bottom line or the top line. If you were anywhere else, you had to track out to the outside wall. Otherwise, the car just wanted to wiggle on you. So as long as you were either holding the running the line at the bottom, you were great. The car was wonderful, or up right along the top, coming off of that corner. Anywhere else, you had to be light on the wheel, letting the car unwind coming out of the corner there.
Yeah, it definitely looked like a handful for sure, but like I said, you had the strategy, and I'd say you may owe Chris a beer or something at that point. I'd say got the F1 overcut undercut dramas, but no, I mean obviously you guys are just trying to work together to help both of you, and just you never know if and when cautions could come out. So yeah, awesome job tonight, Craig, and definitely want to give you the floor for any thanks and shout outs for that win.
Yeah, well, I got to thank Jim over at 40. I mean, Jim came out with the second there, so good on him coming out of the second to last lap wreck. So it wasn't good for Dan and Chris, but it worked out well for Jim. So the 40 still got away with points from that. And so I mean, Chris and Dan, all of us in the chat, we were so active tonight, basically because you had to be Johnny on the spot with all the cars around. So it's good to have a good group of guys who are all paying attention at the same time to make sure we all know what's going on. And you and Andrew and doing the green white checker broadcast for us, love that stuff. And everyone in the Area 51. I mean, this, as I say, it wasn't the easiest of tracks tonight, and I doubt we'll revisit New Atlanta anytime soon. But looking forward to Indianapolis in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that one's definitely gonna be a lot of fun. And so I know one of your teammates there, Chris, was pushing for old Atlanta, so we'll see maybe that takes its place in the future. But we'll let you go celebrate with your teammates, and great job though tonight, Craig.
Oh, thanks guys. Stay safe. Take care.
All right, that is our winner there, Mr. Craig Forsyth. And yeah, definitely just this was a wild one. We did have 6 yellows for 18 laps, but again, I mean 125 lap race, honestly, not that bad. And I mean, and really the real big wreck we had was there at the end, I feel like. So a couple ones that brought out yellows, but overall I think, I mean, terrifying for sure, probably a very big challenge for a lot of guys, but I think all the drivers though did a great job though tonight.
Yeah, I wanted to mention this before before we started the race, but this is actually one of our highest attended races in quite some time. So I'm wondering if these super speedway races may draw out a little more people to try some stuff out. We had a couple of newer drivers tonight that were giving Area 51 a try, and hopefully we see them back in the future. All's not lost in one quick super speedway race. There's a lot of different tracks and a lot of different abilities that we drive here. So hopefully we snag a few guys to come back with us and race in the future. But yeah, I think we expected a little bit more chaos tonight. I thought we'd have a lot more yellows. Actually, I know you mentioned that number, but based on how these drivers were acting in the pre-race, it seemed like it was going to be a little bit more chaotic, and it just shows that these guys up front know how to give each other room and race fairly. So hopefully we see more of that in the season going forward, and I'm excited to see how this championship plays out, especially with Craig taking 2 wins now in 3 races.
Yeah, so and that's a great start for him on the championship side of things. Obviously, like I said, a lot of racing left to go, and say a couple weeks off for obviously the Indianapolis 500, and then I say getting everybody kind of back and everything like that, and then we'll come back here in 2 weeks' time, and we'll be back ourselves at Indianapolis, and then a big change on the schedule side. We're gonna be going to over to Interlagos in Brazil. That should be a very fun one. I mean, I love that track. I love watching it on the F1 side of things. I'm very interested to see how these cars here will run, and that'll be the time where we see the soft tires, the hard tires, push to pass. There's going to be a lot of buttons for these drivers to press here in just a little bit of time.
Yeah, it's always fun to go to a road course and see how these guys switch their mindsets to race against each other, turning left and right. And some of these guys that maybe feel a little deficient on ovals or run mid-pack may have an opportunity to take advantage, especially if they know that track is later on in the series, that they'll practice it a little early on and maybe kind of surprise a few folks as we get to it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see. So, Andrew, and obviously everybody else that's going to be attending, hope you guys have a wonderful time at the Indy 500. I'd say a little jealous, but I'll definitely be watching as much as I can. It's going to be a lot of fun for that one. That's always, like I said, it's the racing weekend. I mean, like I said, you start off with Monaco, got Indy, then you got the Coke 600. It's a lot of hours of racing, so it's going to be fun to watch. And so I hope you guys have a great time. Appreciate you as always supporting us here, broadcasting with me. It's a lot of fun to do with you. And then, everybody watching, thank you all for your support, watching us here and chatting with us. We'll be back on Thursday night for the season opener of the Super Speedway Xfinity Series. And again, we're going to have some fun between myself, Matt, and Boomer doing the house car with the Green White Checker TV. So definitely check that one out. So as always, take care, stay safe, have a good evening, and we'll see you in 2 nights' time. Till then, have a good night.